and listening to it. So um, there we go. We are recording. So welcome to our Monday night. We are combining kind of our Tea for Two Mother's Day knit along with our anniversary celebration, 2 years in our current location, along with Support Local Yarn Shop Day. So we have had some just fabulous guest speakers. I know when Monday rolls around, I'm always excited because I get to see you all, of course, and I know what a treat you are in for tonight, just as last week with Becky from Nomadic Knits. That was just fabulous. And if you missed any of them, our gal that spoke about tea and taught us all about tea, you can go to my YouTube channel and watch them back and give everything a look. So I'm glad to see you all, and thank you for being here tonight. Tonight, it is my honor to introduce you to Jan, and there's Jan. And again, you could take yourself on and put it on a speaker view, and then you could see Jan's beautiful background as well. Jan and I had the opportunity to meet. I think it was 3 years ago.
3 years ago, Angie, in April of 2018.
Right. So Rowan, I was thinking about carrying Rowan, and then they had this free event in Portland, Oregon. And my daughter, as many of you know, lives in Portland, Oregon. So it was just a fabulous
and I have a picture of that event in my presentation.
Okay, fabulous. It was a fabulous opportunity. And I couldn't tell you about being more pleased with being in partnership with Jan. And I think the world of Jan and how she runs a great business. And so I know you've got some presentation, but Jan, are you going to tell us how you got into the fiber industry? I mean, what was your start?
It's kind of a funny route. I had spent 20 years, a little over 20 years in the software industry. I live in Northern California, so I'm kind of right in the middle of technology. And so that was the first half of my career. Then in, I don't know, early 2000s, I decided to leave that. The company I worked for had been purchased, and my son was in kindergarten, and I just thought, oh, I'll take a shift in, I don't know, I didn't know what I was going to do. So like a lot of people, I just thought, well, I'm an avid knitter. So I started working a couple afternoons a week at my local yarn store and found that I loved it. I not only had a passion for knitting for many years, but I loved the retail end of it. So the store owner soon retired, and I opened up a new store across the street and became a yarn store owner, and I had no idea what I was getting into. Sound familiar, Angie?
Yeah.
So I had to learn really fast all about retail. And then, of course, customers coming in the door expected that you knew everything. So there was a lot I didn't know. So I spent a number of years as a yarn store owner, loved it. Through another series of events, sold my store and kind of moved on. And I did a lot of knitwear design for some of the yarn companies in the US. I did yarn sales. And then I got into working for Westminster Fibers, which was part of Coats Crafts America. They owned the distributorship for Rowan at the time, and the Rowan brand. And then Rowan has been sort of bought and sold a few times. And I'm now with the company that owns Rowan, as well as the Sirdar brands. So we're all part of the same European-based company. So I've been with the Rowan brand for many, many years, sort of on the retail side and now on the other side.
Fabulous.
Yeah, so it's been a fun journey. And I have, you know, a 50,000 square foot warehouse with like a lot of yarn in it.
I always tell everyone when they come into the shop that, because people talk about their yarn they have at home, and then I say, well, this is my yarn that I have at home, and if you don't buy it, I have to knit it all. So I can't imagine knitting all 50,000 square feet, Jan.
Yeah, well, no, it's a little overwhelming, but yeah, it's a it's a fun thing to think about.
As Jan goes through her presentation, if you want to write a question in your comments, I'll monitor those so that, you know, I know sometimes we're going along and you have a question, you want to ask it, just type it in and then I can ask her that question. So Jan, you're going to share with us a little bit about Rowan, and you're going to
I
share with
am.
us,
And
you know, I think
I'm
what
glad to be interrupted with questions. I have a lot of information. I was struggling this afternoon with like, what do I cut out and pare down? And I think a lot of the history of Rowan is really interesting. So I'm going to go through it at a pretty good clip just so that I can share a lot. But again, Angie, feel free to interrupt me with any questions, make it interactive. Okay.
All right, let's
Now,
get started.
let's hope this screen share thing. Oh, you have to give me screen
Oh,
sharing.
yes, permission. Okay, yes.
Sometimes it's a little funky, but I'll get it.
Yep, okay, I did.
Right. And here we go. And it might just go black for a minute because my monitor kind of shifts out just a little bit. Hopefully it's coming back. There we go. Oops. I want it to be. Can you see my screen now?
We can see your whole screen, like with your program.
Oh, okay.
But that's yeah, your
See.
PowerPoint program.
Okay, how's that?
It's still there. There you go. You're on.
There, I think there's a little bit of a delay. Okay.
This looks great.
So, yeah, I'm going to just minimize my participant view. So this is a lovely shot of the background from our spring summer 21 photo shoot for the Rowan magazine, which is now magazine 69. And so I'm welcoming you to the world of Rowan at Knit Paper Scissors. And Knit Paper Scissors is one of our premier flagship stores, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we progress as to what that means. But first I'm going to start with a little bit of history about Rowan, because I think it's really fascinating. And I think Rowan is one of the brands that has a lot of longevity in the industry, and it carries the history of the brand throughout the years and is a real integral part of what we do today. So the company, and some of you may be familiar with this, so hopefully I'm not telling you too much of what you already know. But you see this photo on the left, which is the start of Rowan back in 1978. So it started in a small office above a grocery store in a village near Huddersfield in West Yorkshire, England. And the Rowan offices have been in the Huddersfield location since that time, in a couple different mill buildings. You'll see over on the right-hand side, the company purchased this Green Lane mill in Holmfirth, where the company and the team was located for a good 15 years, then moved to another beautiful old mill building. And one of the great parts about my job is I get to travel over to England quite a bit up until the past year, but hopefully that'll lighten up in the months to come. So in the center picture, you see the two founders, Stephen Sheard and Simon Calkin. And what they wanted to do is produce yarn which had high quality and was really well suited for the hand knitting design trends of the time. So you see their little sales table there. They started with some weaving kits, and they wanted yarns that would translate into some, timeless designs, which is still at the core of Rowan today. So in 1982, so you add a couple years on to, the start of the company, and there was a chance meeting of Kay Fassett, who hopefully all of you have heard his name by this point. So Kay Fassett and Stephen Sheard had a chance meeting. There's a young Kaif on the left, a young Kaif in the middle. Kaif was new to the knitting world, and he came across Stephen Sheard's yarns and wanted them in, of course, like 30 colors. So he visited the mill, he took a bundle of yarns with him on the train, and had someone in a pair of needles. Someone taught him how to knit on the train, and he was off and running and revolutionized the world of color knitting, as we know. So Stephen and Kaif collaborated on the first Rowan mail order kit, which you see in the color photo on the right. Iconic Kaif color work design right from the get-go. And this was their first venture into a mail order kit in 1983. And it was shown on the cover of Woman and Home magazine in the UK. And they planned like a minimal number of kits, like, I don't know, 400 or 500. And they ended up selling like 7,000 or 8,000. And this led to the launch of the Rowan magazine in 1986. So that was the very first Rowan magazine that you see here, the premier issue. And it was the vision of the founders, Stephen and Simon, that they wanted to showcase designer-led knitwear. And Rowan today is still extremely design-driven, I think more than any brand out there in the world. So they created a curated collection, always looking at what the fashion and color trends of the day were, and presented in a beautiful package. And that's the printed Rowan magazine that we all love today. It's oversized, it's on beautiful paper, the photography is gorgeous, and it's the only publication that Rowan today does not put into digital format. They want to protect sort of the specialness and the history of that, Rowan magazine that goes back so many years. And it's really the signature publication behind Rowan. So what I thought I would do is just flip through quickly the covers of the Rowan magazines since 1986, which is really fun. Many of you probably have these. I have most of them. There's a couple I'm missing. Probably the most famous is on the top there, book number 10. That's a young Kate Moss when she just started her modeling career. And that's one of the books that you just, can't really find anymore, kind of a collector's item. There's also a magazine, I forget what number, with a young Kenny Redmayne as a model. So the magazines are still produced twice a year. We have one for autumn, winter, and we have one for spring, summer. And those are the two major yarn seasons that we support. And the covers tell a story through time. I can look at every one of these and think of something that I've knit out of them. And I still pull them out and browse through them, lay on the couch looking at them. Kay Fassett has had at least one of his designs featured in every single issue, which really speaks to his close connection with Rowan over the years. Anniversary issues are always special. I think you can see magazine 50 there, which was a hardcover. The scarf on the top with the cable on it, that's a Martin Story piece. Zandra Rhodes has the kimono-like jacket with the bright splashes of color. And Zandra Rhodes also is featured on the cover of magazine 64, which was the Rowan 40th anniversary. And it leads us up to today, the bottom right, which is spring, summer 21, magazine 69. Okay. A little bit more of Kaif through the years. He really is a favorite of mine. My introduction to color knitting was picking up a Kay Fassett book and just being enthralled with the way he combined yarns and would hold multiple, 2 and 3 strands together and drop one and pick up another color, and you were painting with the yarn. On the top, we see Kaif in the blue and white shirt, which is a more current photo of him. And there he is on the bottom right with Stephen Sheard cutting the cake of a Rowan anniversary red velvet cake. We ate a lot of those cakes in, I think it was 2019. Every event we had a red velvet cake. Um, so here's something that I have shared with very few people, but it's one of my favorites. So several years back when I visited, I often will visit with Kaif and Brandon because I've known them through the years. And they were kind enough to let me take a lot of photos at their residence in London. So if any of you know Brandon, who's Kaif's life and business partner, he's quite a character. So here he is welcoming me at the front door. Every nook and cranny is covered with artwork and mosaic. I don't know if you can kind of see on the sides of where Brandon's hands are. Those are the walls into the entryway, sort of the vestibule, and it's all mosaics done by Kaif and Brandon. Their back patio, the pink rose down on the right is the official Kaif facet rose. This photo on the left is of the washroom, and you can see just every corner is artwork and wallpaper and color and rooms full of needlepoint cushions. Kaif is quite a needlepoint designer and stitcher. Just beautiful color. And it's a 3 or 4 story sort of narrow townhouse like you might envision in London. All kinds of pottery, which inspires color for painting. Here's an easel in the center with a painting that Kaif was working on. And another angle on the bottom photo looking out his studio window there. But that was sort of a work in progress. Quilts and texture and just gorgeous color. Here's the color guys. They're working on a very large needlepoint tapestry. They didn't want me to photograph it sort of entirety because it was a design that Kaif was doing for one of the needlepoint companies that buys his designs. And this is a room he often sits and knits in, and it's got sort of, you know, half surrounded by windows with beautiful light. So that was just a really special time to just see where they live and create, and they really live and breathe color. So just a little bit of a inside peek, sneaky peek. Just a little bit about our core team at Rowan. Sometimes people think that Rowan is this huge company with a lot of people. This is about it. We've got Sharon Brandt, who Angie knows quite well. She's our brand director. She's been with Rowan well over 20 years, maybe 25 years. David McLeod is her right-hand guy. He hails from Scotland originally. Trisha Malcolm joined our team, the previous editor of Vogue Knitting. And then the other cast of characters here. Lisa Richardson is the senior in-house designer for Rowan, and you will see her name behind many, many of the designs. She does all the technical editing. She's very core to the team. And Martin Story, who's one of my all-time favorite designers, he's just prolific. He just turns out those designs one after another. And then I run our business for Rowan here in the US and Canada. Here we go. And then the team is really, it wouldn't be the team without the designers. Arnie and Carlos, they do a design book or two every season. They've got a new Norwegian yarn that's coming out for us in the fall with just some beautiful designs. Georgia Farrell has a very architectural bent to her designs. We all know Kaif and Brandon. Kim Hargraves has been with the brand for many, many years. Chloe Thurlow is sort of an up-and-coming new designer for us. Erica Knight has been in our industry for such a long time, has come back to Rowan and is bringing just her freshness and her modern eye to design to the brand, along with her daughter, Arabella. And then the Quail Studio gals, we have Emma and Georgie, and Annika, Andrea, Wilkie. So that's the team of the core designers. And then there's many other guest designers that you will see gracing the pages of all the various Rowan publications. Another really core part of our Rowan family globally are our flagship stores. And we launched the Rowan flagship store program in the UK in 2017. And that was kind of a brainchild of Sharon Brandt, the brand director. And it's really allowed us to elevate the stores that carry everything Rowan across the brand. And we then support those stores with events and sometimes exclusive designs. And, we provide them with designer virtual events or in-store events. And so they are our best ambassadors for the brand worldwide. So we launched the flagship store program in the US in April of 2018, where Angie and I were just mentioning that we had met each other at this very first retailer event where we invited our retailers to some key locations across the US. And it was really an experiment that Sharon and I ventured into. And we wanted to sort of get more up close and personal with our retailers and get more of the message about Rowan and where we were headed directly to our stores. Now, I think you can see Angie sort of right under the corner of the Hotel Rose left corner sign. I think she's in there. I'm in there somewhere too. And we just had a fabulous time. And we knew right away that Angie was going to be one of our best retailers. And she came on board as one of our first flagship stores. And so pleased to have her. So, I've gone faster than I thought. So more time to ask questions and so forth. So a couple things I wanted to point out to you: some upcoming Rowan features and events, a virtual weekend that is happening this upcoming weekend, a Martin Story Knit Along that is launching early May, and then a little bit of a sneaky peek into autumn winter, which I haven't showed anybody. And I asked Angie if it was okay to show you, and she said yes.
Oh, no, I said no, of course.
Oh, all right, I'll take them out.
Hey, Jan, before we go there,
Yeah.
could you share, a little bit about what's happened with the industry during the pandemic? And, I've just been so pleased with the delivery of Rowan yarns. Part of that was Christina being very, very forward and saying, get it ordered, get it ordered, get it ordered. But, there's all kinds of things that have affected it. And I know Rowan has really worked hard at keeping us informed and then getting us stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I'd be happy to. This past year has been a real doozy. We've all experienced it, right? In our home lives and our work lives. It's affected all of us in countless ways. I mean, I don't have to tell. I mean, this we all know. In our industry, it's been something like I've never seen before. Where do I start? The normal process, I'll kind of start there and then I'll tell you how it's shifted a bit. So we will, as a yarn company, we will launch new yarns to our retailers. So we're getting ready to launch the upcoming autumn winter season to our retailers in a few weeks. Our sales reps will go out with all the new information and the new yarns. Retailers like Angie will take a look, decide how much they're going to order, what they're going to bring in, and then they start planning for the autumn winter season, which officially launches September 1st. So that means that we would be getting our yarns in from our major warehouse in England in right around the end of June, early July timeframe, so that we can get our warehouse ready, get all our orders staged and picked, and then shipped out to our stores like Knit Paper Scissors, so that they would have them a week or two in advance of the September 1 launch. So that all has this very logical, planned out timeline that we follow season after season. And we do the same thing for spring, summer. So for spring, summer, we start showing in the fall. The yarns get to us by early January. We ship to our stores to launch early February. And we just keep that cycle going. Oh, look at that kitty. Karen's kitty. So the pandemic hits, last spring, and, it not only affects all of us, right, in our daily lives, but the source of our yarns come from mills in Europe. So beloved yarns like felted tweed and kid silkes and so forth, they come out of mills in Italy. We've got other cotton yarns that come from mills in Romania and Hungary. On the Serdar side, we have yarns that come out of Turkey. So there's key sources for all these wonderful fibers that get spun for us. Well, those mills were not, immune from the pandemic. The people lived in the villages and the towns, and they go to the mill to do their work. And this was happening in places like Peru as well. We don't source any yarns there, but it was the same situation. So there were many instances where, say, our Italian mill that was spinning felted tweed, they had to shut down, or the office at the mill had to shut down because the pandemic had, affected, the population of workers there. So then all of a sudden our source is shut off. Okay. Now we have regular deliveries of yarns that come from the mills. We don't get it all at once a year. So, we would, start depleting our stock of yarns as we ship it out to all our various markets. We have distributors throughout the world, as well as, the US market. North American market is the biggest one. So we started to hit periods of time where we were out of major colors of significant yarns, and then we might get a little dribble back in. And so the supply of yarns was getting rather unpredictable, which we were not so used to. So we had to work closely with our retailers and our sales reps saying, hey, giving them a heads up, we're running into trouble with felted tweed, or we're having trouble with the raw material that goes into a different type of yarn. And it was really tough for our retailers because, some of the product that they needed from us, we just couldn't always supply on a timely basis, or we didn't know when it was coming. A delivery would just show up and all of a sudden there it was,
Mm-hmm.
So in this whole supply chain, sequence, there's raw material that gets to the mill spins, and then it has to deliver to our warehouse in England, which then has to ship to us in the US. And there were many touch points along the way that were also affected. So some other factors that were happening was that the crafting industry was exploding. Everyone's home, right? We're knitting, we're sewing, we're embroidering, and the demand for fibers and yarns and threads just exploded. So that just put a whole nother dimension on it. Then we're still in 2020, and the UK is moving toward Brexit at the end of 2020, right? It was going to happen at the end of December. So all kinds of industries within the UK had uncertainties about, if they got product in, could they get it out? How would it cross the border? What would the tariff situation be? So everyone was flooding the ports into the UK with product because there was uncertainty. So all of a sudden, all the ports in England were clogged. They were filled with containers, and then there weren't enough truckers to get them out to the warehouses. So then big container ships would come into some of the major UK ports, and they couldn't unload because it was full. It was just like one thing after another. And I would have stores screaming at me going, why can't you get me felted tweed in clay? And I'm like, where do I start? You know?
Well, I think that's what was interesting is, how small our world has gotten. And
Mhm.
that, we hear about Brexit in the United States, but then to know that Brexit really was impacting us,
Yes,
and I'm sure not just with the yarn industry, but with other, other
absolutely.
companies. So
Mhm.
that's what I love about working with Rowan is I love the international aspect of it, and
We are
just
part of a big global community, from start to finish. We're in a much better position now. We're starting to get caught up, which is encouraging. We're still challenged with a few yarns and some that have some raw material constraints, but I think we're digging out of the hole, which is good.
fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah. Um, that was probably more than some of you wanted to know, but there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, that gets that affects getting, product to market, into your local yarn store and, you know,
And so you are, because we know Rowan, from England, but then you're the distributor in the US. So many, as I understand it, many uh, foreign yarn companies have distribution points in the United
yes,
States,
yes.
correct?
Correct, because it's not terribly efficient to try to ship directly to Angie from a UK warehouse. So what we do is we bring all our yarns into our distribution center, which is in Hickory, North Carolina. It's about an hour north of Charlotte. Um, and then we ship to our retailers in the US and Canada from that point. So it makes it much more efficient. Um, the normal process is that we will get a, very large container, like these 40-foot containers that go on the ocean freighters. We get several of those a month. Um, uh, Sometimes when we're in a tight position, we'll put it on an air freight, but that's pretty expensive. So that's how it comes across the water into a port up to our warehouse, and then we fulfill all those orders, from there.
Um, and you still live in Northern California, so you commute,
Well, I
right?
do. Yeah, I guess you could say that. I've been going about twice a month right now. I mean, it used to be, Angie, that I would travel to, consumer events like Vogue Knitting Live or Stitches, where we're supporting retailers, or our TNNA, wholesale trade shows, out to visit stores. But that pretty much stopped this past year. Um, Not quite sure what it'll look like moving forward.
I know. I hope that we'll be able to gather together again.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Um, I think some of the virtual events like Vogue Knitting Live virtual have been successful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So what about fall?
Well, let me tell you about a few things coming up. So there's a virtual weekend that I mentioned that's coming up this coming weekend, that features and celebrates spring, summer. So I'll show you a little bit about that. We've got an knit along with Martin's story. He does the best. And then a little sneaky peek into autumn, winter, because we've got three new yarns launching, four actually. So this coming weekend on the 17th and 18th, there's virtual events. So all kinds of live events that you can see on the left of your screen. We've got a new yarn called Cotton Wool and a expectant mother and baby collection, which is called Bloom. So that's being launched actually May 1st. Stores will have yarn and new patterns available to sell. There's an event, presentation and designer spotlight hosted by David at Rowan and Trisha. And the special guests are designers Lisa Richardson and Martin Story. And then featuring, and in the evening, now these are British Standard Time. So if you go to the link that I've got on the screen that you could copy down to sign up, you'll see the time translated into your own time zone. Okay. So East Coast time is 5 hours behind London time. And then you would be 1 hour behind there, I believe. So you're on Central Time, right, Angie?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So you'll be 6 hours behind whatever time they present in the UK, which you see on your screen here. And you can also visit the Rowan Yarn page on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook has a little bit more information if you want to sign up for any of these virtual events. So everything about spring, summer in a live virtual event. Okay. And then you'll notice it says Designer Spotlight with Chloe Thurlow, Yarn Tasting with Rowan at Osprey Home. Osprey Home is the global flagship store for Rowan. It's like the Rowan brand's own, where they, they feature the brand right there in the UK. The flagship store for many years was in London at Liberty of London. And then a few years ago, they moved it out to Osprey, which is this beautiful grouping of buildings and retail outside of London. And that's what they're referring to there. So you can copy down that information if you're interested. Oops, hold on. Oh, guess I'm building. The next thing I'm going to just fill you in on is a new knit along with Martin called Knitted with Love. And you see a few samples here, which I think are lovely. Notice there's some initials there inside one of the hearts. Martin just does a wonderful knit along. He'll be featuring some video tutorials each week. He's really just quite lovely. So there's a little note from here at the beginning about why he chose this design and came up with some squares that go into cushions, a medium throw, and a large throw. And I think he provides you with a lot of options, which is really nice. Martin has always been known for his knit-alongs that take the knitter on a journey and kind of build your skills through the weeks. So there'll be a new pattern each week for a total of 10 weeks. And here's an example of some of the different motifs that you'll see each week. And you can kind of pick and choose how you're going to put the squares together. So you could put color work in it. You don't have to. You could add some beads. You don't have to. It gives you a lot of flexibility. And the yarn that we're featuring is Island Blend. It's a beautiful alpaca, silk, and wool with really a lovely hand and some beautiful colors. And it's a DK weight yarn, and it comes in a 50-gram hank. Okay. I don't know if there's any questions on the knit along. And then I will just mention a few little tidbits coming up for autumn winter. And again, this release out into the stores and out to you as knitters and crocheters is September 1st. But we always have to do this planning months ahead, to get our retailers on board and share all the information. So we have magazine 70 launching in September, which is the platinum issue. We have a little bit of shine in there, some beautiful stories. And Rowan has been working very hard for a good year on expanding size inclusivity. And I think there's a real wonderful story here. And it's termed We Wear Rowan. And I'll show you just a few images. A really interesting new yarn sourced from the Falkland Islands with a fabulous story. It's also a penguin sanctuary. And something new for felted tweed. Yeah. So just a little bit of a sneaky peek here on a few garments hanging there on the rail that are featured in the Platinum story for magazine 70. We're pulling in a little metallic thread yarn from DMC, which is also one of our companies that we're all a part of. And it's called Diamant. And it can be knit in and included in the designs in this story. I don't want to give too much away, just a little hint here. Oops. Okay. Just a little overall picture across many of the publications. In the upper left, those of you that are Kay Fassett fans will notice his work. He's got a new book coming out called Say It With Flowers. That actually launches a month later, which is October 1st. We've got some color work in Norwegian designs from Arnie and Carlos. We've got a new yarn in this yoked diamond pattern on the upper right, which is Tweed Haze. I'll show you a little bit of that. We've got a home collection from Martin on the left center where you see the little eyelashes and the kitty cat. So there's a lot. There's a lot. Autumn winter is always big. Okay. Just a little bit on the size inclusivity, which I think is very exciting. It's very easy for larger ladies like myself just to say, just size it bigger, you know. Well, yes and no. Sometimes when you take a design from a 36 bust up to a 50 or a 52, it changes everything. The shoulders have to change, the drop or the shape of the armhole shaping or the depth, or something that might look okay in a shorter length may not size bigger. So, you know, the Rowan design team had to take a whole different look at the garment and the sizing in, you know, kind of scaling it up and scaling it down. So the sizing is actually going to go one smaller. I don't relate to that, but I understand there are much teenier, smaller women out there. I get it. That's not me. But, you know, we do hear from ladies that are like, you know, I'm small, I'm petite, you know, it's not small enough. So we're extending one smaller and 3 sizes larger than the current range. And this is going to be throughout all the Rowan magazines or all the publications. So it's not just going to be one separate book for larger sizes or plus sizes. That's not inclusivity in my mind. We want to see, you know, women of color and women of different shapes, and you'll see curve models throughout all the publications. And I think that's very, very exciting. And we're going to have, you know, have those designs, you know, photographed on real women. So Pebble Island, sorry, I'm shifting into something else. This is a new yarn that I think is very exciting. It's a fully traceable pure wool from farm to store, and we know the names of the sheep. We like that. So a little bit of lots of information here. But Pebble Island is the 3rd largest of the Falkland Islands off South America. And the farm where we're sourcing this wool, on this island, 6 people live there. It's one family, 6,000 sheep. and it produces some of the finest wool in the world with a micron of 21.5. That's really, really fine. Okay. It's an important conservation area, and the climate and the vegetation really contributes to the quality of the wool that the sheep graze and feed on. This is very interesting. So the sheep are all blade sheared by hand, which is something that you don't find very much at all anymore across all the wool sourcing globally. But it produces a better yield to the wool. There's one clip a year, but it also retains a lot of the lanolin in the wool. So it gives it a better, a different quality feel to the wool. And I'm just learning about all this myself, but I find it very fascinating. We all love a really good story behind our yarn. We love to know that they're sustainable, that the animals are treated, humanely and ethically. And then the yarn is spun in Yorkshire. So many of you are probably aware that, the spinning mills were a huge industry, decades ago in Britain, and then much of it moved away to other countries, just like it happened in the US. So Rowan has been instrumental in reviving some of the local mills. So we're proud to say that it's now spun in Yorkshire, and several of our other yarns are as well. Moordale, Valley Tweed, and then we have pure cashmere, which comes out of a family mill in Scotland. Okay, Erica Knight is doing the designs. I've started to see them and they're beautiful. And here's your color palette, just a little sneaky peek.
They're beautiful.
Yeah, I've seen some recent samples that come in, and it's just a beautiful hand. It's got a nice spin on, or a nice twist on the yarn. A little bit more of a close-up look. So I think that oh no, a couple more. Here's a new one called Tweed Haze. It's a bulkier yarn. I don't know if you've seen this up close, Angie.
Not this close, no. I love it.
Yeah, it knits, I forget what size needle. It might be like a US 9 or 10. And there's some like great long coats, and it's just lofty and flecks of color and yummy. So that's all I'm showing you on that. And then the grand finale, felted tweed color. Now you can't really see too much of the color change here, but it's actually graduated color on, dyed onto felted tweed. So it's the felted tweed that we know today with its wonderful composition and gauge and everything. But this is a color changing, yarn. I had some swatches, but I couldn't get them into the presentation. So, so I went through a lot of stuff.
Wow. Jan, I did have a question about the gauge on the new Pebble Island yarn.
I don't know if I have it handy to pull out. Let me see.
Or weight.
I think, well, it's a DK weight yarn.
Okay.
Let's see. I don't even think if you could see my desk, it's all over the place getting ready for our sales launch. Let me see if I have it on this. Okay, here it is. It's 20 stitches and 28 rows to 4 inches, 118 yards on a size 7 US needle.
Okay.
Helps?
Helps, yes.
Yeah, so I'm going to stop sharing here. There we go.
Oh, gosh. Well, that is quite the sneaky peek. I tell you what, we are all so lucky to be able to see that.
And I was kind of trying to decide, what do I share, when you invited me on, which I'm honored to, to be here. It's like, oh, there's so much great history and new stuff. And anyway, I know everyone likes to see a little bit of a peek ahead.
Well, I have seen it all, and I am super excited about fall. We are right now in the midst of our spring, as you
Of
know,
course.
and but fall's always just, fall in the fashion industry, and that's really what we're in, is the fashion industry. Is always exciting. It's always about getting ready, and good for us in Nebraska and in the Midwest, getting ready for winter, and wearing our knitwear and all of
I
those.
know, I know. Well, you have some cold winters. Have we thought about having Trisha do a trend presentation for your, have we done that
No,
with you
we
yet?
haven't done that. That would be
That
fabulous.
might be fun. She does a
Yeah,
great one.
and
Yeah.
that interesting enough, right when I opened the shop 2 years ago was when you had Chicago, where I flew to Chicago, and this was, I mean, I think we were in Chicago on Tuesday and I opened on Thursday, something.
Mm-hmm.
I was dead tired, and came to the event, and everybody's like, let's go have a drink of wine in the bar afterward in this beautiful boutique hotel in Chicago. So I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, but I'm going. And I happened to sit beside Trisha, and Trisha had just come on. And as Jan mentioned, she was the editor of Vogue Knitting. And she's like, have you ever been featured in Vogue Knitting? And I'm like, no, I mean, I'm just kind of a new shop. And so she just pulled out her phone and texted her contacts there at Vogue Knitting. And then we were featured as,
Right.
featured as a local yarn store. You never know when
You
you're
never
going to
know.
encounter opportunities, but so appreciative of that.
Absolutely.
And
Well, you deserve
for,
to be featured. You've done some tremendous things with your store, Angie.
oh, well, thank you, Jan. And it's because of my customers. I mean, we're family, and we just become family, and they have just been amazing as far as their support, and amazing to be on the journey with Rowan as well. And I
Mhm.
think tonight's really helpful because it just gives you a broader understanding, which makes you more enthused about, hey, I'm going to look at that book again. I'm going to look at the magazine. What might
Mhm.
I knit out of it? What might I make out of it? And I know you've got a little bit of treats here at the end, but if you don't mind staying with us for a little bit, we're going to have our two gals share, our two staff members share about the Mother's Day. And I think I told you about
Sure.
Mother's Day, and I brought my we are knitting our Mother's Day shawl. It's an annual tradition.
Oh,
And
really? Oh,
this
how lovely.
this is the shawl. And this one is done in Denim Revive.
Oh, I love it.
And it is, so we chose Denim Revive, soft yak, cotton cashmere, and hand knit cotton. And
Wonderful.
this is one of my favorites, the Denim Revive. And
What pattern is it, Angie?
well, it was a free pattern
Okay.
that we found online, and then we expanded it a little bit. We just did repeats, but it's
Great.
really simple, and it's designed. We had so many beginning knitters. We taught 35 beginning knitters in January, and so we
Wow.
really wanted a project that we could do, that a beginner could do, and relaxing enough for an advanced knitter. And we have folks making several of these, and they give
Mm.
them to their moms, or they give them to a special friend, or those things. And what I had staff do is share 4 influential women in their lives, and then we named the kits after those women.
Oh, I
And
love that.
so, yeah, so tonight, Valerie and Cindy are going to share just their little story about their special that they're knitting in honor of, or a good memory. And Valerie, we'll let you start. I'll get your photos up. So
Okay.
there's Val. You're off mute, and let me go to my screen share because I have. Which one do you want first?
Their wedding photo.
Their wedding
Yeah.
photo. Okay, here we go. Hang on. Have a little bit, like you said, of a delay. So Val, tell us who you're honoring
Um,
tonight.
I am honoring my grandmother. There she is. That is Hazel. Hazel Christabel Williams was her name. And she was quite the lady. Look at her. And her husband, Sydney. And they were married for over 50 years, and they lived in Gothenburg, Nebraska, their entire lives. They lived in Gothenburg. They didn't get married until, I believe, Grandma was almost 30 years old. She was a school teacher at a little schoolhouse south of the Platte River, across, you had to cross the Platte River south of Gothenburg. And that's where she taught. And then she met Grandpa and they got married. And they had two girls just right away, my Aunt Mary and my mom, Inez, and they were 2 years apart. Well, shortly after my mom was born, my grandpa went up to Alaska with the Army Corps of Engineers and helped build the Alaska Highway up there at that time. So she had these two little girls all by herself for a little over a year, I think. And she was quite the woman. She taught me how to crochet, how to knit, how to quilt. She taught me how to make cinnamon rolls. She made the best cinnamon rolls in the world. And their garden in their yard was bigger than our backyard right now. It was absolutely phenomenal. So she taught me how to can everything. And so, yeah, that was her. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Oh, she was very involved in the Dawson County Extension Service. She was with a group of ladies, and I think they were called the Happy Homemakers, I think. And they, I know, the Happy Homemakers. But I remember working on parade floats when I was a little girl, because they would do parade floats and they always had, everything was flowers, marigolds and zinnias, and that's how they did their floats. But I remember doing that with her. But she did that for years and years and taught other people. There she is. That's their 50th wedding anniversary. Look at my grandpa in his leisure suit. They're so handsome. I love them. I miss them so much. But I was thinking this morning when I was knitting here in my office, and just my house is full of things that my grandma Hazel, her nickname was Dutch, Grandma Dutch. They all had nicknames back then. But my house is full of things that she has made. And as I was sitting there knitting this morning, and I was thinking about who I was knitting this item for, and it caused me just to think that every time Grandma was knitting for me, she was thinking of me. And how often do we do that with our loved ones and our friends when we're making them things? We think of them. And I know Grandma was praying for me when she was knitting for me. And I just think that's great.
Such a sweet story, Valerie. Just, these have been so touching. And Grandma Hazel, right?
Yep.
So if you bought the Hazel kit, this is who
Yeah.
inspired the
Yeah.
name of the Hazel kit. So I know we had some folks that bought the kits based upon the names, that it was a special name. So she looks like a wonderful, wonderful woman.
Yeah. Well, I do have a story. She was quite the firecracker, because when my mom and my Aunt Mary were in high school, middle school, high school, they refused to clean their room. Well, one day they're walking home from school and all of their clothes were flying out of the top bedroom. And just threw everything that was on the floor out the window into their front yard.
Oh, that's good. Would we dare do such a thing today?
No.
No, we'd say, please clean up your room.
Yeah, they never had a dirty room.
Okay, if you don't. Thank you, Valerie, for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, Cindy, are you available? Let's see where Cindy is. Probably coming off mute. There
Okay,
she is.
yep, there, I'm off
There
mute now.
she is. Hey, Cindy.
Hey, how are you guys?
Good.
My inspiration is my grandma as well, and her name was Anne, and she taught me how to crochet and how to knit. So I didn't get my pictures to Angie. So this is my grandma and grandpa when they got married. So it's she kind of has the Great Gatsby kind of look to her wedding gown and stuff. My grandpa passed away when my dad was 17. So I did not know him. So she remarried to my grandpa, Freddie. And this is a picture of grandma that I just think is really cool, kind of her, kind of before she married my grandpa, Freddie. So kind of a cool dress, cool hat, all of that. So she was my inspiration. She taught me how to crochet first, and we always made little hot pads. So not too long ago, I was cleaning out and I found these. These are some of the hot pads that I made with my grandma out of just embroidery thread from probably DMC, those little spools of thread that we probably bought at Ben Franklin. My grandma lived at 13th and Van Dorn Street, which I don't know if people in Lincoln, at 13th and High was a local Ben Franklin store. So it was up 2 blocks away from grandma's house. So we would go spend the night on Saturday nights. We'd walk to Ben Franklin, we'd buy yarn. Obviously, not the best yarn, Red Heart yarn, and then floss. We also crocheted around little hankies and stuff like that. And then we learned how to knit with grandma. Grandma knitted all the time. So one of my best stories with grandma is when we started to knit, and I was going to make my first sweater, not with Red Heart yarn. We went to Miller and Payne in Lincoln, Nebraska, which was downtown. They had a fabulous yarn store. So this is the first sweater that I made with grandma.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think
That's
it would
amazing.
I don't think it would fit me. But old simple fashion sweater that we made. And it was such a treat. We went downtown and I got to buy yarn, special yarn. And now we are so spoiled with Angie's shop to use all that fun, beautiful yarn that we have now available. So grandma would knit for all of us. And then when we started having kids, all of her grandkids, she had a lot of grandkids. My brother had 10 kids and I had 4. My sister had 2. So you'd have to get in line to get a sweater from grandma. And she would go down the line and make sweaters, and it was your turn and on and on. So now I knit for my grandkids, and they enjoy it and ask for certain things, certain colors. Bodie just asked for an orange sweater not too long ago. So brought him into the yarn shop and he picked out what color and what yarn he wanted his sweater made out of. So that always reminds me of grandma and spending all those times with her. So yeah, good memory.
You know, it's really neat, Cindy, that you're doing that with your grandkids. I know you do a lot of projects with them. And
and some of them do know how to knit. They're just all kind of busy right now, and some of them are younger, but I'm sure eventually we'll get to that point. My one of my daughters is an excellent knitter, and she buys a lot of stuff from Angie and does a lot of Angie's projects. So I have one that does a lot of right now, so which is fun.
And it's just neat. I guess that's the part I think that's really neat is the generational, you know. You're smiling as you're talking about your grandma, and just really good memories of that. And someday that, you know, your grandkids are going to say some of the same stories. I remember my grandma, she always had knitting in her hand.
Exactly. And always sat in her chair with her little the old-fashioned knitting, and you have one, Angie, those little things right by her bag, and you knew not to mess with it. So I'm sure.
That's
my
neat. So
kids will have the same memories. Yeah. Fun.
There, that's the story we're telling. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Cindy, so much. For sharing, and thank you all for participating. Jan, we've got some thanks for sharing. Love the history and upcoming colors for fall. And Becky says, great presentation. I love the history, and I'm getting more excited to experience the different Rowan yarns in my future, Jan. So I think we have 28 actually. 28 participants on, and I have your names written down. And
you have some good prizes.
Jan's got some good. Oh, one other thing I would say before we do that, since we talked so much about CAFE, we talked about this book today, and this just came out from one of my book publishers, and it's called CAFE Fawcett in the Studio. And it's got needlepoint and knitting patterns and quilting. So it's got a lot of the pictures that Jan has, and my copies are signed because I ordered them early. So if you'd like one of these books, we've got them. We've got them at the shop to add to all of your Rowan collections. Next week, we've got Meet the Dyers and Jessica from Lazy Bee and Allison from Lofty Loops. They are the independent dyers that are featured in the Nomadic Knits Iowa, Nebraska magazine. And so they're going to talk about how they got into their part of the fiber industry and how they do their dye inspiration. And so that will be next week. And then in 2 weeks, we have our fashion show. So we've had several virtual fashion shows and they work just beautiful. So get your Mother's Day done so that then you can have it ready to be show off. We'll walk the runway via Zoom. We've learned to do all kinds of things. So Jan, what do you have for us?
Oh, I have some goodies. Angie and I were scheming before the call, and I told her what I wanted to give away. I love giving good stuff away. So the first giveaway is a full set of Rowan birchwood needles.
Oh my gosh.
There are 17 sizes. I don't know if you've seen them, but all you have to do is Google Rowan birchwood needles. You can get a set of straights. They're 14 inches long, or a set of circulars, your choice. The circulars are 32 inches tip to tip. And I use them for everything. I mean, typically I would want a 24-inch, but I had to do a lot to convince the Rowan team that circular needles were the way to go. They all knit on straights over there. So we're expanding, their foray into circs. We'll get 24 inches next. We'll get 16-inch. We'll get interchangeables, but we have to, kind of coach them along. So it's a full set of either straights or circulars, 17 different sizes, and in the also a Rowan branded needle wrap, a fabric case.
Okay, and so I've got, if you'll pick a number between 1 and 28.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. 17.
17 is Margaret Warner. Margaret. There you are, Margaret.
I am thrilled. That is great. Good.
Yeah.
Use more needles.
We'll get all of your information. I'll tell you all the drill when we're done, or I'll be in contact with you. Okay, so Margaret, congratulations. All right.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Jan.
Next one, Angie?
Yeah.
Okay, the next one is your choice of garment or design from the new Mode Collection 4 magazine, which is part of the new Spring Summer 21. So it's Mode Collection 4. You pick your garment, your color, your size.
Okay. All right. So you can't pick Margaret, so don't pick that number.
All right. I'll pick number 8.
Number 8 is Lori Kavanaugh. Lori, where are you? There she is. There you are, Lori. Hey.
I'm so excited. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I've never won anything. This is so exciting.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, the next one is your choice of garment, kind of same drill as we just did, from Rowan Magazine 69, which is the Spring Summer magazine. There's some gorgeous things in there. So your choice of a garment and size. And
now this means, to clarify, this means you have to make it.
Well, yeah, that's true. And we're going to check up on you. Yeah.
Yeah. So well, I mean, when you say garment, you might think, well, they're going to send me the garment, but we'll send you the yarn.
Yes, exactly. Sorry.
The garment.
Yes, you get the yarn and the magazine or the book to make it.
Yeah, right. Okay, all right. Just want somebody to think they had a beautiful piece coming.
No. Good clarification, Angie. I'll pick number 10.
Number 10 is Cindy Page. Cindy, Are you on? Cindy Page, Yahoo.
Congratulations, Cindy.
Congratulations. Let's see, do we see Cindy?
She got
Thank
really-
you.
There, we're here. Thank you. All right,
Okay,
Cindy.
and the fourth prize, last one, is your choice of design from Moordale Collection 2, which just launched in January this year. So it's the second book from Martin's Story. Beautiful designs. I've just started knitting one of the big wraps from there. And I will pick number 25.
Janelle Martin. Janelle Martin. You're the winner. Where's Janelle? I know she was on. She's probably getting off mute.
Uh-oh.
Where is she?
Did she leave? She might have left early.
She might have left early.
Uh-oh.
I know she was on. So
I don't see her, Angie.
you don't see her.
Mm-mm. She
Okay.
was on.
She was on. Well, we're going to honor it since she was on for almost the whole time. So we're going to honor that. So
Great.
Jan, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. It was so much fun and great to just see all of you and hear about what you're doing.
Just fabulous. And we'll look forward to when you can come see us at the shop in
You
person.
bet. You bet.
And I had shared at one point last year or this year about, I think it's April 28th-ish, we were to be headed to London. We were to be headed to England with Rowan
You were.
as customers. We had to pay, but as customers, and they were going to treat us to a week in England, and we were going to go up to the mill and spend some time in London. And so I said, absolutely, that has to be rescheduled. So we're even going to knit in a castle. So we'll,
Yes, I know. It's still going to happen.
it is. All right, everyone, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Jan, I appreciate you.
Thank you,
so much.
Angie.
Happy knitting tonight, if you're going to knit, and if or what you're going to knit. So always good to see you all. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, Jan. Thank you.